American Fiction is a fantastic film, and it's a real throwback to like 80s movies.
Now, is that the one that just come out here with
Jeffrey Wright?
Jeffrey Wright, yeah. Now you saw that, didn't you, Flash? And you said it was kind of boring. I thought.
Yeah, I didn't like it. I thought it was going to be more of a comedy.
We
just had
it.
Like, I didn't see the point of making his brother like overly super gay.
Okay, but I get
super
it.
Gay.
Yeah, that's a little a few coins to the modern movie rules. But other than that, I thought the movie was extremely.
Here's another great example.
There were a couple parts in it that I really thought were well done, particularly the scene where they're in the writer's room, or they're in that room talking about the vote, and you have the two black characters saying this shit sucks, and all those three like white allies were talking over them and shutting them up the entire time.
It's hilarious. But the fact that he went after the other female writer writing a book that was similar to his, I thought was really cleverly done.
Well, it's funny because I was thinking about this the other night. We've talked about this endlessly, but it's like Hollywood used to even make stuff like Police Academy, right? And this is one that'll tie into both Canada and the US because they filmed them in Canada, but they were huge all throughout the world, and they made a lot of money for the studio. And what Police Academy movies did is they funded all the other films, right? Like, sure, Warner Brothers was always kind of embarrassed by having 6 or 7 Police Academy movies made, but 6 movies made them money.
Comedies are a whole nother subject. I do believe Hollywood.
No, but why don't they do something like that again? That's my point.
Because I think they can't. I mean, unless you get an individual who can spearhead something like this, I think Hollywood can make more American fictions. But oh my God, like we talked about it already, Weekend at Bernie's.
Another one they wouldn't make now.
Oh, that's such a good.
But again, that worked because it was a high concept comedy, and they don't do those anymore.
Not just that, but there must have been 100 comedies out that year, the same year that Weekend at Bernie's was made. Comedies were a very popular thing to do.
Oh yeah,
no one's making them anymore, really.
Nope.
on that level.
I mean, you know what? You can't do anything offensive, and a lot of the best comedy is offensive to somebody, and that's the problem.
Well, they don't have to be all American pies or Porky's, Yellow. Okay, I'm just thinking of Ferris Bueller's Day Off. It wasn't offensive to anything.
It's like a teen comedy, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and the first Police Academy was R-rated, but after that they went PG-13 and stuff like that. But that was kind of my point, right? Like those grew out of the Porky, Stripes type comedies, but they became their own thing. And I was just using that as one example, right? Sure. There's tons. But like even when Police Academy came out, it was beating some of the bigger Hollywood pictures at that time just because people are like, oh, I want to go see that funny movie. Steve Guttenberg wasn't even really a star. The biggest star in that movie at the time was Bubba Smith. like that's the thing that people don't even remember about that movie when it came out. And then, the same thing, Steve Guttenberg, he quit after 4, he said he kept going, but there was other people wanting him to do other things. People forget how popular he was in the 80s. And that was the other point I was going to get at is these movies created movie stars. They don't do that anymore either. The closest thing we got now is Chris Pratt, Timothy Chalamet, maybe. Sydney Sweeney's getting some heat right now, but they would consider Zendaya a movie star. I wouldn't consider Zendaya a movie star 20 years ago. I would consider a pop star turned somewhat of a movie star.
I don't know. I would argue even those people aren't really on movie star level, even as much as
Timothy
like Chris
is
Pratt,
closest.
But like, you really saw it. You really see it in stuff like, so a great example that I like to give is when you had Endgame come out, which is probably the high point of Robert Downey Jr.'s stint at Marvel, right? I mean, he was massive as Iron Man. But then that same year, that Doolittle movie came out that he did. Was that what it was, Doolittle? Was that the name of it?
Yeah.
It flopped hard. Like, if this had been
Doolittle,
20 years ago, everyone wouldn't watch that movie because of Robert Downey Jr. And that just isn't the case anymore. The movies,
maybe.
There is no... Nobody
came out almost 20 years ago.
Nobody pulls people into theaters based on who they are anymore.
No,
you even saw
and that's
that with
my
Tom
point.
Cruise with Mission Impossible 6.
And that's
that
my
movie
point,
flopped.
Flash. Well, yeah, and that's my
and
point.
That's right after Top Gun.
Well, and even one of the classic old guard movie stars, but people forget Tom Cruise isn't infallible either. No movie star ever was. But you're right. They are not building new movie stars. The Rock is probably the closest. And I wouldn't even consider him a star because, as I pointed out a million times over, his biggest hit on his own is Black Adam, and they consider that a failure.
When I was a kid, I would have went and watched a Jim Carrey movie just because he was.
Oh yeah. Well, 1994, he had 3 of the biggest hits in 1 year, and it made him one of the biggest paid actors for the longest time until Johnny Depp got paid that $90 million for. People forget how long it took for Johnny Depp to become a movie star, right? I remember Johnny Depp back when he was in Teen Beat from 21 Jump Street. Like, that was in the 80s, y'all. Like, it took him a long time to build his way up there. Will Smith is probably the last organic movie star we had because he built his way up to where he was.
Yeah, but he ruined his image.
Yeah, now he's ruined his image.
He's
like,
destroyed it.
But I'm just saying, like, he was probably the last pure movie star we had. And you got to go back how many years for Will Smith? We're talking 1995 is when he blew up. Because from there on out is when he owned 4th of July for a couple of years in a row. True. And then after that, it's name one new movie star that we've had come through that's actually been nearly as impactful. You can't.
He could have maybe bounced back a little bit if his wife would stop humiliating him.
If he'd have divorced her, maybe, but that's a whole nother conversation. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like every week for a while it was just her saying, "Oh, I don't have sex with Will no more," and all this shit. Like, she was throwing him under the bus like every week for a while.
I hate to break this to you, Mystery Box, but Denzel became a star in 1984, 5, 6, somewhere around there. He's been a movie star for a long time.
Oh yeah.
Long time.
And I mean, one of the reasons we're not having comedies, I'm going to be quite honest with this, is that the Jewish mindset and sensibility really fits into comedies, and that's gone. We just I did a monologue on where are the Jews. Like,
you're gonna get some.
Pardon me.
You're gonna get some people coming into the chat here.
Probably. But the point is, I mean, you had the Woody Allens, there's a connection to being Jewish and doing comedies, in the Blazing Saddles, all this stuff, Annie Hall, Love and Death. And even if you weren't Jewish and you were doing things like 10 and The Goodbye Girl was a Jewish comedy. So they're just, and also the connection to Broadway. Broadway was filled with all sorts of brand new comedies all the time. So they're not doing those anymore. We've just got these gigantic spectaculars on Broadway. So we've lost an enormous connection to the people who love doing comedies, and it was part of their lives, and Hollywood would be doing a lot of comedies, and Hollywood was not so concerned about being able to make money in the foreign market at the time, right? Back in the 70s and 80s, that wasn't where they made most of their money. So now that the foreign markets, most of the failures often are saved by the foreign markets, they're afraid to do comedies which don't travel well outside,
unless they're physical comedy. Yeah. And even that, they just quit doing. Like, you're right. Like, it's just become like this old thing they don't do anymore. Like, we have not had a straight comedy in a long time, other than that Jennifer Lawrence one from last year, I guess you'd call. But
yeah, well, that was pretty good. I mean, for a good try. I mean, we don't get The Jerk.
No,
that's a great movie.
Yeah.
No.
Oh man, that's one of the.
You don't get the Dumb and Dumbers. You don't get any of that kind of stuff anymore. The Caddyshacks, any of that. No. But let's keep moving here. We got some more super chats to get through. Vengeful Dragon also points out that it's happy the Trek Day. Kurtzman's not threatening us today. So far, he hasn't.
That was a horrible article in Variety. What a horrible article in Variety that was, with Kurtzman just whacking off. I just hated that.
Well, like I've been trying to warn people.
Yeah, he doesn't have to threaten anymore. I mean, Discovery Season 5 is still coming, so what's there to threaten with? Like, now it's just a matter of ignoring
damage is done.
Yeah.
But at this point, Skydance is the only one that seems like in the running until Warner Brothers makes any moves when they can, if they do. And I've been trying to warn people, if Skydance gets their hands on this, it's not going to get any better. These are the same people that put JJ in charge, remember? It's just going to continue to be more of the same crap.
Maybe they won't this time.
If you're a fan of Star Trek, just stick with just keep in mind that you have all of Star Trek from 1966 till 2005. That should keep you entertained for quite a few rewatches. That's
I loved Kurtzman's quote where I can't remember where he did it, where he said it, where he mentioned that Star Trek Academy is going to have science in it.
Like really real science?
Yeah, because there sure as fuck wasn't any in Discovery.
I know, that was my
most
joke.
of the people that write this stuff don't know anything about science, and they
they
treat it like it's some kind of religion. Like I wonder if you were to even talk to them about like replicating, if they even would know what the hell you're talking about, because they're always like the science. They never talk about any of the steps of it ever.
And what gear has Discovery brought into the Star Trek universe? Like what new things can you point to that says, oh yeah, the biobed? No, the needle-free injection device, the tricorder. Pick what it
we
is
got
that
mushroom space travel and sonar in space.
Oh, the tablet computer, the flip phone. Please tell me what Discovery brought into our lexicon of new inventions.
Pronouns.
Nothing. Yeah, pronouns.
They stopped a scene just so they could have a pronoun speech. That's their claim to fame, kids.
So yeah, and he's
so much so that have you seen the new cover for the Star Trek IDW one? It's
no,
the two gay lovers. Yeah,
no, I checked out.
Wow, amazing.
Yes,
well, I'm gonna tune in for sure now.
I would say they even chickened out of that because like that doctor and that super blonde guy, the one who
that's who's on the cover.
Yeah, well, you could have the sex scene between those in the series, an explicit one. That'd be new for Star Trek territory, but no, they chickened out of that.
Well, they segregated those two characters from the rest of the crew anyway through most of the show, from what I watched. I checked out whatever it was during season, 3?
I didn't watch season 1, so...
Oh, I did.
Yeah, everyone said it was dog shit, so I never...
Season 1 and 2 were dog shit. I checked out after 2. And then sampled.
The only new Trek I've watched is Picard season 3. That's it. Didn't watch season. I watched the first episode and checked out.
Only thing you need to see is Picard season 3. That's the only worthwhile Trek of the last 20 years.
I did attempt Strange New Worlds, both seasons.
Oh, I watched 2 episodes of that and didn't like it.
That
either.
wasn't half bad.
It was okay, but I didn't think it. I didn't think it was great either.
This isn't the one I'm talking about, but this is part of what it is here.
They killed off the favorite character, the engineer guy, the alien engineer.
Notice which version of Sulu they use here too, not the.
Yeah, the Korean Sulu.
Who's the one who's producing this? Is it like?
It's IDW.
Is that Heather?
Heather Antos.
Yeah,
that's what I thought. Yeah, of course.
I can't find the one where they're like fucking spooning.
That's okay. I'd rather not see.
We have to try to find it. I mean, we have plenty of other stuff to talk about.
We keep going. Never mind.
Let's keep going.
We have guests here. Before let's give the super chats a little bit of a rest because I want to discuss something in the current news.
Before we do that, Ryan Bannon wanted us to get to this because he had said something earlier. Ryan Bannon sends in 20 Canadian dollars. Thank you. That's very generous. Has anybody ever told the far left that their behavior towards the media is almost exactly the same as the standard tier right and U.S. Republicans of the 80s and to early 2000s? That's an easy way to give them a stroke, I bet. It's an interesting way of looking at it.
No, that's an easy way of getting them to attack you and deny reality. Because according to them, what is right now in this moment is what always was and always will be. Because these are the most historyless people in the world. So I agree with you in principle. But these people, especially the foot soldiers on the ground, are pure cultists. So they don't know. And if they do know, they'll resist it. They'll put up their ideological defenses. That's the scary thing here.
With that, what else did you want to get into then this morning, Andre?
Well, Bob Iger, after winning his proxy fight, he apparently is lecturing us that we don't quite know what woke is, and it's a term that we throw around way too lightly. All at the same time as he went on and announced that the new Silver Surfer will indeed be a woman. And now we even have reports of a male actor, a black male actor, like Keith Stanfield, who suggests that he lost out on the role. So if that is to be believed, the Silver Surfer was either going to be a black man or a woman, but either way, don't
Well, that's
call it
already
woke.
Lawrence Fishburne played him in the original.
Yeah, Doug Jones did the body, but the voice. Yeah, I don't have a problem with that. But I see where Andre's going. It was going to be a DEI hire no matter what.
Yeah, exactly. So
yeah, who cares? Like, it would have been Silver anyway, you know?
Right.
But either way,
yeah, we got the ultimate gaslighting here, because if you ask me, Bob Iger and Disney have been the first and foremost at teaching us what woke is. And if we don't know what it is, then the teacher is failing us, I would say.
Say it's an umbrella term for social justice concepts.
Well, and the sad part is it's changed over time, because this is what we talked about on Mead last night, was just how the terminology of it has kind of changed throughout the years. And somebody sent me in the background the earliest they could find the term woke becoming in the vernacular, and it was about 2016. I'm sure it predates that a little bit, but that's when it started popping up on YouTube and such. But you know, like initially, I mean, we were talking about how woke kind of just meant to be basically aware of and observant of other cultures and races and genders and all that kind of such, which, you know, basically they use to manipulate a lot of people into thinking that it was the right thing to do. When you started peeling away the layers, though, and as I'm sure Andre can explain it better, I think we fully well understand what woke is, Mr. Iger. Woke is this false version of progressiveness that looks and smells a lot like the PC culture we went through in the 90s, but is really just built in a way to segregate and destroy the lives of many people, and most of all, go after white people, specifically white men, cis white men, as they like to coin them.
Yeah, well, really, no, because what it is, it's part of an ideology that is tied in with critical race theory, where human worth is assigned to your level of victimhood, which in turn is assigned to group identity. So there's no science here, it's just pure ideology, and this is part of it. We know very well what it is, but I think that this is like such an Iger thing to do, just to deflect from any and all criticism. This is the same thing as when he said before that, no, when we are being hyper-partisan of the left, that's not us being political. Nothing political about that. We're just being good global citizens of the world, and we are doing what is the right thing to do.
Exactly.
Which only goes to show, no, it isn't. What you're doing is hyper-partisan Democrat values and talking points. And no one thinks that that is the right thing to do unless they happen to be in your particular echo chamber.
Well, and I said,
I gotta
Flash has got to run.
I gotta go.
Thank you, Flash. Enjoy the show.
I got tickets for Godzilla Kong.
Hopefully you have fun. I'll see you tomorrow night.
Yeah, hopefully it's good.
Bye, Yellow.
Take care, brother.
See you guys.
Yeah, because like as I was explaining, in the 90s, the PC culture came out of, we had realized, okay, we've kind of hit this point where, you know, meritocracy has taken over. We're working with a lot more people and dealing with a lot more cultures than we ever had before. We're becoming much more diverse. So the PC culture came out of, okay, I need to be a little bit more observant of my behavior and other people's behavior in my vicinity, because, you know, I'm working with a lot more people now than I used to. And it's not, you know, we actually had meritocracy. I did come to a point where, you know, you were working next to a black person or a woman, as opposed to maybe you weren't 20 years before that. So it was just becoming a little bit more aware of, you know, certain ways that you use certain terminologies and stuff. It wasn't like policing you to the point where everybody was like trying to cancel you and stuff. That's what this thing with the woke business is. It's basically a way to use equity to destroy others. And I mean, we've explained this in, I don't know, God, hundreds of videos probably at this point. Maybe I'm exaggerating a bit, but we've done a ton of them. As you were saying, though, Andre.
Yeah, quite a few, yes. But to me, what's like so frustrating is that no one is busting him on this. Why is no one asking
Well,
him?
we are, but they're not. Yeah, the media is not.
Yeah, but we're not speaking to him. We're not speaking to his face. Like in this case, he was speaking to CNBC, which have done some very, very good exposés before, but not when Iger is in the room. Like this is where they need to say, well, counter points of view to that is this and that, and also, what about the fiduciary duty when your entire board has been appointed by you and not the shareholders? These kind of questions. Instead, they just allow him to spurt out his false narratives and republish and regurgitate it completely uncritically. Which at least I think is frustrating. It's like, I don't know what's more annoying, him winning the shareholder proxy, the board proxy fight, which was not a great, was a great disappointment, but not a great surprise. And then instantly carrying on with this, no, we're not woke, we're not political, we're just being good people. Trying to change the world.
Yeah. And I mean, I'm sure a few people's opinions and what they decide or consider woke will vary a bit, but even he, tries to hedge it a little bit by saying, he does accept that, yeah, some of their stuff has gone woke. But that's where he pipes back with the whole, well, I don't think everybody knows what woke really means, or they're overusing that terminology, which that is directed at people like us. Let's be real here. Who else would that be directed at?
And it's only for the things he can blame on Chapek.
Right? And that's the thing here that pisses me off more about this. He can say we don't understand woke all day and it wouldn't bother me, but it's the fact that he's using it as a scapegoat to pass the buck. It's like, don't sit here and fucking gaslight me when you're the problem.
Yeah.
Right? Like, you're the one who hasn't had a single hit this year. I don't give a fuck what you say about Guardians of the Galaxy. And let's wait till this next year here and see how it goes too. Because we all know, I know, everybody knows, the only hit they got as a possibility is Deadpool 3. And they better hope that movie's good. Because if word of mouth gets around that it's not, it is going to tank harder than any of the other MCU movies before it. The only thing it's got going for it is that the general audience may not pay attention right away.
Yeah. And even if it is a hit, it's just another fluke because they go straight down to identitarian crap instantly afterwards.
Yep. As you pointed out in your most recent video, because that's the absolute truth. The next thing we got coming down the line is Agatha and Ironheart and Captain Falcon and, shit like that. So it's all back to normal.
Exactly.
And, and we all said this last night, and it was hilarious how he did this victory lap on the CNBC interview. And he actually called it that, I believe. And then, as we both pointed out, and everybody else has too, that how sneaky it was to wait until after the vote was done to drop that news about Silver Surfer, or the Silver Surfette, as I've been calling her, and the Star Wars show. I don't know if you saw the trailer for that. It literally takes less than 5 seconds before they get into strong victimhooded women. I shit you not.
Which is basically just doubling down on the very things that have caused Disney to fall from grace in the first place.
Exactly. Yeah, this is the Silver Surfette, and thank you to Exebius for tagging me in it. I thought that was pretty good.
I call her the silver. I call her the Silver Schiefer.
And yeah, I know that she's an original character from the comics, but you know what? It doesn't matter, because the fact of the matter is that the real Silver Surfer is Norinrad. That's the one we should be following here in a big screen adaptation. And that they go with this female version, well, that's the same as them going with the bitchiest version of Captain Marvel they possibly could find when they have a much more likable male Captain Marvel in the past of the of the Marvel universe.
Well, there's another problem with doing this as a Schiefer, Silver Schiefer, unless they're gonna add girl on girl action here. One of the best parts of reading the original Silver Surfer Fantastic Four adventures was Alicia Masters falling in love with the Silver Surfer. Or maybe not falling in love, but she could feel his pain. It enraged Ben Grimm's jealousy because while he was in love with Alicia, he could never express the love that he wanted to because he felt he was ugly and she wouldn't understand. So it made a distance between him and her. And then, there's that scene in the comic books where she's touching Silver Surfer's head and she suddenly because she's, blind, or she just could feel, the millennial of pain in him. And you're not going to get that. That to me was a really, really humanizing part of the entire Silver Surfer Galactus Fantastic Four arc. How are you going to get that with a female?
Probably you are going to get that. You're just going to gay it up.
Yeah, I would hate that.
Yeah, I know, but that's why you're going to get it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you probably answered your own question. Probably someone figured out that, hey, you know what? If we can gender bend the Silver Surfer, then
we're going to gender bend Alicia.
This whole storyline is so progressive. Like, oh, I just read here that there actually is a female Silver Surfer. That'll shut the fanboys up, but we're going to gender bend anyway. Ha ha ha. I mean,
they've been gaslighting us with that shit for a while too, though, right? Like, that's where I love every time they're like, yeah, but they're from the comics. It's like, yeah, a comic that's what, fucking 2 minutes old? Like, you cannot sit here and rest on that shit anymore because we know that the comics have been headed down this DEI route since what, 2010, 11, 12,
well, I
somewhere
think that
there.
This one's a minor character from the 60s.
I get it, and that's too, and and you're right. You guys are completely right. This is no different than that shit because, and yeah, in some ways, like you said, it's worse because they're just really banking on this thing that was like, and I think Klobby said last night that she was part of a I don't remember if it was a graphic novel or a completely side story or whatever, but it was like a 4-issue run and she only shows up in like 2 bits of it or something like that. And that's it. I mean, I don't know. I never read it. I don't give a fuck. To me, the Silver Surfer is one person and one person only, right? Like, that's where I don't get this other crap. I'm sorry. I'm kind of a normie when it comes to most comic book shit, but that's another reason why I don't need 20 different versions of every fucking character. To me, Peter Parker's Spider-Man, Namor is the Submariner, etc., etc. Like, I don't need Captain Falcon. I don't need this, that, 0.20. And here he is right here in the chat. Klobby says there's not really a legit female version of the Surfer in Earth X. That's what it was too. An alternate timeline. Shambhala. I don't give a fuck what she's called. I'm going to call her Shambhala. Shared his powers. Nowhere else did she have powers. Yeah. So yeah, he brought that up last night on Midnight Edge After Dark. But yeah, so like I'm with you, Andre. I know exactly what they're doing with this. It's all a virtue signal. It's the same shit just like it was yesterday. Nothing has changed. And this is solidifying that nothing is going to change, right? Because we could at least give, Bob a little bit of leeway saying, okay, fine, you've finally buckled to what Peltz wants. And that's what Peltz said yesterday is like, yeah, I've been promised the same thing this year like I was last year. Let's see if it happens. Otherwise, next year is going to be round 3, right? Like, we can see right now he's doubling, quadrupling, whatever down on this shit.
Well,
all the new stuff they're announcing is just the same as the old.
Her. I guess she's going to be completely CGI. She's not going to be, they might model her face. They're not going to model her body. She gives Zendaya a run for.
That's what I said.
So for being a ironing board.
For basically being a carpenter's dream.
Yeah. I mean, she's, I just looked her up. She's 5'4". I mean, Silver Surfer is, should be 6'3".
Well, that's what we were saying too, is Zendaya would have been a better choice if you're going to go that route. I thought she was auditioning for it with that outfit at the Dune premiere.
I think she was auditioning for Barbarella in.
Yeah, Barbarella.
Although whatever, doesn't matter. Yeah, you know what? It's another stab in the back. This to me is hugely disappointing. I'm a big Fantastic Four fan. What? Yeah, sure. Bring the female Fantastic Four in later, movie, version like episode 3. But at the very beginning, just bring us the iconic Silver Surfer. I just do not understand why they have to do this. Just kick us in the nuts every single time. Of course, Silver Surfer didn't have any nuts either.
Yeah. Well, Bob Iger wants us to know that it's not because they're woke, so we cannot say that.
This clip was taken from Midnight's Edge in the Morning, which streams live every Monday, Wednesday and Friday at 9 AM Pacific Time on the Midnight's Edge main channel. There you can send in your live questions and comments before clips and full stream replays are uploaded to Midnight's Edge live archives. We are also on Twitter, Rumble, Odyssey and Facebook, so smash that like, help share, subscribe and join us.